Hey everyone, it's Susan Anderhagen, founder of the Anderhagen Group and XFactorLeader.com. Today I wanted to speak about how to lead, love leading, and have people follow you anywhere. And in order to cover that, I wanted to speak about what I've called the XFactor Leadership Framework, which are the 8 skills needed to be a great leader. So first, let me ask you some questions. Are you a leader that wants to grow your leadership skills? And frankly, everyone in leadership should say yes to that, because leadership requires continual learning. But there's some other questions here. So are you a leader that wants that next promotion, or are you someone not yet in a leadership position that wants to be promoted into a leadership position? There are absolutely skills that can help you get there. Or do you fear taking a leadership position, or you're not sure that you have time to have a life and be a leader? I've been working for Fortune 500 companies for 31 years, and for most of those years I was rising up in leadership positions, up to where I was a vice president working for Verizon, an organization of 180,000 people, reporting to the CIO. I had a budget of $70 million. And for part of the time that I was a leader there, I was a single mother getting my master's degree at night. So I can assure you that I know the skills needed for great leadership. I have seen many of the world's greatest leaders in action, and I've seen some of the worst leaders in action. And I also know what it takes to balance your work and your personal life. I can show you the skills needed to focus on for great leadership. First, let me start with my first leadership role model. This is Mighty Mouse, a cartoon superhero many of you may be familiar with. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, Mighty Mouse was my hero. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and I had 2 older brothers. And with my parents, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment. And because it was only 2-bedroom, my parents had taken one of the bedrooms and split it down the middle with a pegboard wall. I was on my side of the wall with a giant poster of Mighty Mouse. Now, Mighty Mouse stood for righting every wrong and saving defenseless people from peril. And I really felt I was in peril because on the other side of the wall were my 2 older brothers with every monster action figure you can imagine. They had the Wolfman and Dracula and Frankenstein and King Kong. And the scariest to me was the creature from the Black Lagoon. So I really needed Mighty Mouse to do the right thing and save me from peril. But part of what appealed to me was that he wanted to right every wrong, and when we speak about all the skills of leadership, you'll see where that falls in. Well, let me first address what is leadership. There's many definitions, but here are 2 that I really like. One is from Gus Lee, who's an author and leadership speaker, and he defines it as ethically inspiring others to be their best selves, to courageously act for what is right. And this is full of important words. So first of all, being ethical, being inspirational, being courageous, and again, like Mighty Mouse, doing what's right. Another more simple definition of leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality, by Warren Bennis, who's also a leadership author, consultant, and scholar. And this talks about the importance of vision and taking people on the journey to translate that vision into reality. So we'll speak about those skills as well. First, let me cover several myths about leadership. The first myth is you need to be given a leadership title in order to be a leader. Well, that's really not true. There are opportunities for leadership in many areas where there is no leadership title. First of all, look at Mother Teresa and how courageous she was to go and do her work in all of these unfortunate places in the world. But also in every team, as a team member, there's an opportunity to be a leader and to take leadership roles. The next myth is that when you are given a leadership title, you've achieved leadership. Now, John Maxwell talks about the 5 levels of leadership. The first level is when you have a leadership title. And being given a leadership title certainly gives you an opportunity to lead, but it certainly doesn't provide you with the skills necessary and essential to be a great leader. Myth number 3 is that strong leaders need to be ruthless and cutthroat. And while I think that there's still many leaders out there that think that's true, I think most leaders will tell you that one of the most important aspects of leadership is building relationships. Now, I can tell you, I've encountered leaders in my career that do run their organizations by being mean, and yeah, that can last a certain amount of time, but you don't create followers that way. you create people that are scared and want to get out of your organization. The last myth I'm going to cover is that the skills needed for great leadership are a mystery. And I know that it sometimes seems that way because sometimes we encounter leaders that are so charismatic and we think, wow, what are the skills that those folks have? And it is true that every person is an individual, and it's also true that the leadership skills are well known. So it's really the matter of how do you apply these leadership skills and how well do you perform them that really makes you a great leader or not. So let's talk about what they are. This is the XFactor leadership framework, and as I mentioned earlier, there's 8 skills in here that I believe are essential for great leadership. So let me cover the ones in the black X first. So the first skill and the most foundational of skills is integrity. I think of integrity as having 3 elements: honesty, accountability, and respect. And they all get tied up in doing the right thing, and doing the right thing when no one is watching. I love the golden rule, which is treat others the way that you'd like to be treated. The next one is being value-driven. And what I mean by that is a leader needs to be able to determine and articulate the value that he or she is providing to the organization that they are working with, and that they are providing to the mission of the organization that you are working with. The next area is having a vision and a journey to get to that vision. So leadership at its core is taking people where they might not otherwise go. And a leader needs to be able to create the vision, get the people in the organization to help and buy in to that vision, and get those people to join him or her on the journey to that vision. And this is important in a personal life as well, that you need a vision and a target, and then you need a map to get there. And if you don't have the vision and the target as to where you're going and the map of the journey as to how to get there, then you end up wandering around not really knowing where you're going to end up. The next area is courage, and perhaps one of the ones that makes the most difference in the kind of leader that you are. A leader needs to be able to make decisions and take risks in order to grow themselves and the organization. A leader needs to be a change agent and to continually challenge the status quo, and needs to be willing to fail in order to lead. Fear of failure is one of the largest fears that people have, but in order to be a leader, you can't fear failure, because what you need to do is learn from failure and also learn to fail fast. The faster that you can take a risk and fail, the faster you get on to the right path. Now, if you think of the first 4 skills as really fundamental, then I like to think of the other 4 skills that are in the white area as kind of the glue or the grout that holds the other skills together and really makes a difference in terms of how people feel about your personality as a leader. The first one is passion. To be a great leader, a leader needs to be completely engaged in the work they're doing. And to me, passion includes energy, enthusiasm, optimism, positivity, and also one that I call entrepreneurship. Now, what I mean by this is you may be an entrepreneur, but many people who are leaders are working for other companies. And it's really important to think every day, what if you owned this company? What if the money that you're spending in the company is your money? What if the profit or loss is your profit or loss? And if you treat that company as if you are the owner of that company, no matter what level you're at, you will make different decisions. In my experience as a leader, I would constantly and repeatedly ask people in my organization, if this was your money, would you spend it? I would ask when they wanted to delay a program, if this was your company, would you delay this project? Those answers are much simpler if you think about the money as yours. So that's part of passion to me. And when you think about the company as yours, you have a whole different level of engagement. Very important for leadership. The next area is communication. In order to enlist followers, a leader has to communicate often and clearly. And because, as I mentioned earlier, relationships are such an important part of leadership success, you need to be able to communicate in order to build and foster those relationships. And in today's age of social networking, where people can communicate continually, a leader needs to be able to communicate more often than ever before, because for lack of a leader communicating, everyone else fills in the gaps. The next area is mentoring. So mentoring can take many forms, but part of a leader's job is to develop others, and especially to develop other leaders. When John Maxwell talks about his 5 levels of leadership, mentoring others is really where the focus is, at the 5th, at the top level of leadership, because this is an area that oftentimes leaders don't focus on enough, is really growing the leadership and the people that work around them and for them. And the last area is caring. And caring is absolutely essential in order to be an X-Factor leader. This all has to do with thinking about the people that you're leading and working with as the human beings that they are. It's really important to understand and remember that people are your most important asset. And those people have lives outside of work, have joys, have fears outside of work, have sadness outside of work. And the more you can understand and reach out and touch those people as fellow human beings, the more that you create a connection and a relationship that will last beyond a specific program or project. Today we've talked about the 8 aspects of leadership: integrity, having a vision and a journey, being value-driven, having courage, having passion, communicating, mentoring and caring, some of the myths surrounding leadership, and the key skills needed for leadership to answer the questions about: how do I improve my leadership skills? How do I get that next promotion? Should I fear taking a leadership position? Can I do this all? And the answer is yes, you can, if you focus on these skills. Thank you. Have a great day.